What's going on? It's Connor from the Dolphins Dive, and today is preview day. Minnesota Vikings at Miami Dolphins this Sunday. So I'm going to do the breakdown. Just going to do a quick little shout out to my merch. We got the McDaniel McLovin shirt. By the way, shout out to everyone that's purchased it. It means a lot. If you get the reference, phenomenal. If you don't, watch Superbad. It's a top 10 movie all time. And we got the Two at Time merch as well. Hoodies and sweatshirts, just if you're interested. I appreciate anybody that purchases it. Without further ado, we're going to hop right into it. Dolphins offense versus Viking defense. Let's run through the numbers real quick. Dolphins offense is ranked 12th in points per game. Vikings defense 15th in points allowed. Dolphins are 5th in passing yards per game. Vikings 23rd in passing yards allowed. So that's quite a big discrepancy. Maybe they like to take advantage of. Dolphins are 30th in rushing yards per game, and Vikings defense is 19th in rushing yards allowed. But despite that, my first offensive key of the game is to pound the rock. I don't care about that number. Dolphins coming off their best rushing performance last week against the Jets. Keep the momentum going. You have a third-string quarterback playing. Run the rock, run the rock, run the rock. Run heavier personnel, 21, 12, whatever you got to do. But pound the ball. Put as least amount of stress on Skylar Thompson as possible, which hops into my next offensive key, which is give Skylar easy throws, whether that be screen passes, play action pass with a strong running game, hopefully, and just a lot of quick game, things like that. And then that'll fall into the third key of the game. I'm flying through this. I don't know why. But protect quarterback and take deep shots. The Vikings secondaries, they've got some pieces, but they're not necessarily the most athletically gifted anymore. Pat Pete's up there in age. Harrison Smith's not the fastest. They're great players, but they're not very fast. When you have Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill with elite speed, you can afford to take deep shots like that, which is why you pound the rock, force them to try and stop it, quick, easy throws off of it, screens, play action, and then take your big, deep shots off of that as well. Make sure you protect the quarterback. The Vikings have a phenomenal defensive line, so players to watch. I'm doing a little bit of a rebranding to it. Usually it was Miami Dolphins, but then it was getting a bit too redundant with saying Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and then the third guy, the backup right tackle, make sure he didn't get exposed. So I'm turning it into the opponent players. So if you're unaware of them, you know who to look out for and what we have to do to try and scheme around them. The top two players are the biggest ones to watch out for. Denelli Hunter, Zadarius Smith. They're two of the best pass rushers in the game. They can wreck the game completely, strip sacks, all of that. They're phenomenal players. So that's why I have them at the top. Third guy doesn't get a lot of media love, which is crazy to me. He's one of the best linebackers in the game, and Eric Kendricks, sideline to sideline guy, great in pass coverage and stopping the run. He's just a stud and deserves more national media attention. So someone to look out for. He can wreck a game as well. Reading quarterback's eyes, lurk him. You know how it goes. Fourth, this guy's very unknown. Younger guy, Cameron Dantzler. He's a young cornerback. I'm not saying he's elite. He's not top of the top, but he's a young ascending player just to look out for the future, just so that you fans are aware of this guy. He's up and coming. He made a great play against the Bears. Sneaky little guy he's raising his stock. And last but not least, Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith's a tremendous player. He's up there in age, but if you listen to the Pat McAfee show and you hear Aaron Rodgers talk about Harrison Smith, you know the impact he has on games. And even Mike McDaniel in his press conference today mentioned with the Vikings show, pre-snap is very different from post-snap because of how much they like to disguise their coverages. And Harrison Smith's a big reason why, because he disguises his coverages in ways that people have never seen before, and that's something that Rodgers mentioned. He'll be at the line of scrimmage and play a middle third and crazy things like that. So they disguise your coverages crazily, and it has to do with Harrison Smith. So keep an eye on Harrison Smith at all times. Don't let him confuse you. I mean, it's going to happen because we have a third-string corner, and that's just the nature of how their defense operates. They're going to confuse you. It's just about limiting the mistakes when they do. So those are the players to watch for the Vikings, and we're going to hop right into the defensive side of it. So Vikings offense is ranked 13th in points per game, and Dolphins defense is 29th. So that's pretty bad. There's some reasons that fall into that. I don't think we're as bad as that number is, but we'll see. Vikings are 8th in passing yards per game. Dolphins are 28th, so in yards allowed. So that's a big discrepancy. The Vikings are probably going to try and attack. Vikings are 21st in rushing yards per game, and Dolphins are 13th in rushing yards allowed. So despite the Dolphins having the edge, my first key is still to stop the run, because Kevin O'Connell comes for the McVay tree. They love to run the ball. Like, if they can run the ball every single time, they will, because if you can't stop the run, it's a nightmare, because then they're going to play with your backers and have them not be properly played in the passing game. So stop the run, make them a little more one-dimensional so you have an easier job defending their pass, which you saw is they're ranked 8th in the league. Number 2 should be obvious to everyone. Cover Justin Jefferson. The dude is one of the best receivers in the entire league. And once again, the Kevin O'Connell-McVay tree, they're using him like they use Cooper Kupp, using him out wide in the slot at running back. Like whatever they do can move him around, get him the matchup that they want. And he's a nightmare to try and cover because he's such a good player. Between his route running, his deep catching ability, just all around phenomenal player. So do what you do to try and cover Justin Jefferson, whether that's putting X on him, bracketing him, whatever you have to do, cover Justin Jefferson. Don't let him ruin your game. Last but not least, play more zone coverage. And Josh Boyer knows this. He's been doing it a little more every week. But with the injuries we have at corner, we can't afford to play press man coverage 50% of the time because we're getting exposed a little too often. You have X with a double groin injury. You have Byron Jones on the IR. You have Caterco, who's doubtful to play, who's probably one of our better corners. Nick Needham's solid, but then you're relying on Keon Crossan, Noah Igbenogany. It just gets a little too hairy. Make your corners' jobs a little easier. Play a little more zone coverage, and make it easier on those guys because playing press man 50% of the time with the back end of your depth chart can get a little hairy. It doesn't mean we're not going to do it. You should still do your scheme, but just limit it because it could lead to explosive plays on their end, and we don't want that happening. So that's that. Players to watch for the Vikings. Most of it's pretty self-explanatory. First on the list is obviously Justin Jefferson. We already went over how good of a player he is. Second on the list, Dalvin Cook. Should be a surprise to no one. Elite running back. Very hard to bring down. Can catch the ball. Line up out wide. He's very dynamic. So that's why stopping the run is so important because if Dalvin gets going, you're probably not stopping him. And last but not least, Adam Thielen. Despite being older up there in age, he's kind of his production hasn't been the same in a couple of years. He's still a very dangerous player, especially against, like I said, the back end of our secondary. You put him up against unexperienced players, he's going to take advantage of them. He's a savvy vet. He knows how to get open. He makes the tough contested catches. Try and limit his impact as well. It's going to be hard to do. These guys are going to make plays. It's just about limiting them and trying to make more plays than they do. So that's the players to watch. Now, in time for the prediction. And listen, this might not rub Dolphins fans the right way. I'm a Dolphins fan. I'm not trying to be biased. But I am biased. With that said, I still have the Dolphins losing 31 to 24. This is the first time I'm predicting them to lose. So my record of predicting is 3-2 as well as the Dolphins. I hope I'm wrong. So I hope I fall to 3-3 and the Dolphins fall in 4-2. We'll see what happens. Comment down below your score predictions, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, I'll catch y'all.